Hello, welcome back to the channel. Today we are diving into a debate that has been sparking arguments across South Africa, both online and in the streets. The question is simple but incredibly divisive: should undocumented foreigners get free healthcare in South Africa? It might sound straightforward at first, but trust me, the deeper you go, the more complicated and emotional it becomes. Make sure you watch till the end so you can hear the sources and verify the news for yourself. And if you haven't yet subscribed, please hit that subscribe button so you don't miss important updates on issues affecting our country. The We the Nation debate kicked off when a televised panel discussion went viral. The panel brought together politicians, healthcare workers, activists, and ordinary citizens to discuss the issue of undocumented foreigners receiving free treatment in public hospitals and clinics. As soon as clips from the discussion hit social media, South Africans wasted no time in sharing their views. From Twitter to Facebook, from WhatsApp groups to street corners, the conversation has been non-stop. On one side, there are people who strongly believe that healthcare is a basic human right. They argue that no matter your nationality, documentation status, or financial situation, you deserve access to medical care when you need it. Their point is that denying someone treatment because they lack papers can lead to unnecessary deaths and public health risks, especially when contagious diseases are involved. They say that compassion and humanity should come before politics and border control. On the other side, there is growing frustration from South Africans who feel the country's public health system is already under severe strain. These voices argue that our hospitals and clinics are buckling under the pressure, with long waiting times, staff shortages, and medication stockouts becoming a common experience. Many of them point to overcrowded maternity wards, understaffed emergency rooms, and patients sleeping in hospital corridors as proof that resources are stretched too thin. In their view, South Africa needs to put its citizens first, especially when so many locals are struggling to get basic care. The tension between these two perspectives reflects a bigger problem: the state of South Africa's public healthcare system. Even before the issue of undocumented foreigners came into the spotlight, our health facilities were already facing challenges. Budget constraints, corruption scandals, poor infrastructure, and mismanagement have all contributed to the situation. For many, the arrival of undocumented migrants in need of healthcare has simply poured more pressure on an already overwhelmed system. The debate also ties into the broader conversation about immigration in South Africa. Some South Africans feel that the government is too lenient when it comes to border control, allowing undocumented foreigners to enter and stay in the country without proper monitoring. Others argue that many of these foreigners are fleeing desperate situations in their home countries and that South Africa, as a regional leader, has a moral duty to help. The problem is that both arguments hold some truth, which is why the conversation becomes so heated. Healthcare workers themselves are caught in the middle. Doctors and nurses on the ground say they don't have the luxury of checking immigration status when someone comes into the hospital needing urgent care. Their priority is to save lives. But they also acknowledge that the added demand from undocumented foreigners does affect waiting times and the availability of resources. Some have called for better planning and more funding to ensure the system can cope with the reality on the ground. Online, the We the Nation debate has become something of a battlefield. Hashtags and slogans have emerged on both sides, with some calling for a complete stop to free healthcare for undocumented migrants and others pushing for policies that protect everyone equally. The comment sections are filled with passionate arguments, heartbreaking personal stories, and sometimes, unfortunately, insults and xenophobic remarks. It's clear that this is not just about healthcare, but also about identity, belonging, and the future of South Africa. Interestingly, several experts have weighed in, pointing out that the number of undocumented foreigners receiving healthcare may not be as large as some people think. They argue that the real issue is not just about who is getting treatment, but about how the healthcare system is managed overall. If hospitals and clinics were better funded, staffed, and supplied, the pressure would ease for everyone, regardless of nationality. Still, there's no denying that in some areas, especially along border provinces, the demand from undocumented migrants is significant. In places like Limpopo, Mpumalanga, and parts of Gauteng, healthcare workers say they see a high number of patients from neighboring countries. This has led to calls for the national government to work more closely with neighboring states to address cross-border healthcare needs. The political angle is impossible to ignore. Different political parties have seized on the issue, using it to push their agendas. Some see it as a chance to call for tighter immigration laws, while others are using it to highlight the need for a more compassionate and human rights-focused approach. As elections approach, don't be surprised if you hear this topic come up again and again in campaign speeches. For ordinary South Africans, the debate hits close to home. In rural areas, people talk about walking for hours to reach the nearest clinic, only to find it overcrowded and under-resourced. In cities, patients complain about waiting months for specialist appointments. When these experiences are combined with the perception that foreigners are getting free care at the expense of citizens, emotions understandably run high. At the same time, there are powerful stories of solidarity. There are nurses who treat patients from all backgrounds with the same dedication, community members who collect food for foreign patients in hospital, and South Africans who have stepped in to help foreigners navigate the healthcare system. These moments remind us that even in the middle of heated debates, there is still humanity and kindness. Looking ahead, it's clear that the issue won't be solved overnight. Solutions will need to balance compassion with practicality, human rights with resource management, and national interests with international obligations. Some have suggested that foreigners should pay a small fee for healthcare, while others propose more regional cooperation to share the costs. Whatever the approach, it will require honest conversations, proper planning, and strong political will. The We the Nation debate has shown that South Africans care deeply about their country and its future. Whether you believe that healthcare should be free for all or reserved for citizens, it's important to have these discussions openly and respectfully. After all, shouting over each other won't fix the hospitals, but working together just might. And on a lighter note, if debates could fix our healthcare system, we'd have the best hospitals in the world by now. Sadly, it seems we'll have to stick to the more difficult route of budgets, reforms, then maybe a miracle or two. All images used are for illustration purposes only. Sources: We the Nation debate, South African Department of Health reports, public social media discussions, and expert commentary from healthcare professionals.